All right, hold on one sec. Okay.
Ready?
Are you counting down?
We're good. 3, 2, 1, start.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. When we decided to do this, we wanted to make sure to give anyone who joins something interesting, dare I say educational, and or at least a little entertaining. The team you are seeing from Mean Joe Advertising absolutely kills it on a regular basis. And right now, they're doing the same as we're maneuvering daily to make things happen for our partners. We are missing one very key person. Stephanie, if you're at home watching, we miss you, but she's got a deadline and she's going to hit it because that's what we do. Before we get started, we want to thank those that took time to submit questions. If you have questions, just drop them in the chat below and we'll answer as we see them. Also, if you don't mind, just give us a quick sup in the chat so we can say hey to you. Again, thanks for being here. To start, the four of us are going to go around and see what everybody's drinking.
All right, I'll kick it off here with that, right? So I'm drinking just a nice, neat Maker's number 46. Not the best, not the worst. Nice little middle of the road whiskey.
Nice. Bradley?
Going with a Raz Wheat from Jackie O's down in Athens, Ohio.
Nice.
I've
MB?
got a nice Masthead IPA. Shout out Masthead Brewing downtown. Out of a nice little master's glass right there. You know,
Nice.
straight from the source.
Nice. I have a Cleveland whiskey bourbon right here on the rocks in my nice Crazy Mama's rocks glass. And I have an expired Miller Lite here in the Papa Joe's pint glass right here at the headquarters of Mean Joe Advertising. So cheers to everybody.
Cheers. Drink up. I got a backup beer just in case it goes long.
Nice. All right, so let's start it off with something a little bit light before we get into the advertising and marketing stuff. So this is your final mock draft. We're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to go right to pick number 10, unless you think it's going to somehow end up higher.
So tonight, I think we're picking up a left tackle. We gotta shore up that offensive line. Nick Chubb's too good a running back, and I think there's enough potential from the quarterback position to let that go unnoticed. So I'm gonna stick it with the Big Ten. We've had some luck with Big Ten left tackles. So Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa.
Nice. Bradley?
All right. I agree with the left tackle, or just the tackle aspect of it, but it's the Browns. Who knows what they're going to do tonight? If I had my choice, I would take Andrew Thomas.
It's legit. I'm with Anthony. I think a big Iowa offensive tackle sounds like a dream. I'm worried that he'll be off the board. They're probably going to end up with that Mekhi Becton kid. If they don't trade up, which I'm nervous they're going to be using Odell tonight.
Ooh.
It would stink. Right. It would. I don't agree with it.
No, come on.
All right. Even though she's not here, I wanted to find out what Stephanie thought, because as we all know, she is a big fan and pretty knowledgeable as well. So she says they're sticking with number 10. They're taking an offensive tackle. And she thinks it's going to be Andrew Thomas from Georgia, or she kind of hopes that it's the kid from Alabama, which is Jedrick Wills. She said, power is always good. So that's the kind of analysis you're going to get around here from Stephanie Kuiper Jr. And then I just, as a long sufferer, I don't want them to do what many regime after regime has done, which is think they can outsmart everybody else and do some crazy thing or trade down to get 2 and miss out on some Hall of Famer or whatever. But we need a left tackle, obviously. Everybody knows it. So there's 4 who all could be fine. And I actually will be fine and happy and pleased if they take Andrew Thomas, if they take Tristan Wirfs, if they take Mekhi Becton, or even if they end up taking Stephanie's guy, Jedrick Wills. So, all right.
I like it.
Anything else draft anyone wants to add before we move on?
You heard it here, left tackle.
Just tackle. You heard it here first.
It's a very tackle-heavy draft. We better not miss.
Be a linebacker.
If Isaiah Simmons is there, I don't know.
That would be a big drop. All right, well, this isn't sports talk. We'll leave it to some of our endorsers who are awesome at that, and we'll move on to some of the questions that we got. So we got a question here from Betsy P, who's our friend and who is our marketing coordinator, which is for the podcast Almost Rich, Almost Famous. Anyone want to give Betsy some free advice?
Yeah, we'll send the billable hours afterwards. First, I want to start by just letting everybody know that we had a little technical difficulty with the chat option. If you guys go ahead and refresh the page, it should show up just below the video here for you. But Betsy, first of all, thank you for submitting something. Just want to say, go follow Almost Rich, Almost Famous, with this great platform we have. I'm sure you guys are going to get a ton of followers out of this one. But just quickly, I think that you guys have a lot of potential. I have your page pulled up right now. I mean, you got 712 followers already. That's really good. And I think the opportunity here really comes from the engagement side of things. I think there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to go out and start some conversations with people that are influencers in the space and you want to engage with a little bit. Because you guys get comments, you guys get likes, but just opening yourself up to that conversation. We've seen a ton of success just taking that time each day, whether it be liking 50 posts in a certain hashtag or commenting on 10, 12 of them. Like, all that stuff goes into making the page get promoted more. And then this shameless self-promotion. When you get more people on the page and you just shout them out, like them, tag them and stuff, you're more likely to get more followers as time goes on. But I am going to drop in the chat below kind of just a quick win for you guys, just to set up your account as a business account so that you guys get some more extra analytics. Everybody loves numbers, loves to track things, but that's your quickest win is going to be A, switching from a personal account to a business account, and then B, just starting to get as much engagement as possible, starting to come in and follow the page, and you guys should see some growth on getting on YouTube. We're excited to see where you guys take the page.
I don't have any advice because our digital lead just gave the best stuff that you could get. I think, and maybe you guys have something better, but I'm just going to give a plug and say that I listen. I'm caught up on episodes since number 1, and I always get a great kick out of it. So if you haven't, check it out. It's funny.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think that creating your page as a business page is, a lot of people don't do, and I love that to get those analytics. And then it's really just sharing your personalities. That's what people are going to be coming to you for, is you guys being you, and you guys are hilarious. I love you guys, and used to work with both Betsy and Bridget, and it was always a blast. And their podcast is a must listen. I'm putting it there.
Nice. All right. Another question? All right, so this is a question that came in randomly from somebody. How has traditional media helped your partners during the quarantine? And do you notice more or less of an impact? Anyone want to jump in on that? Do you want me to lead off here?
I mean, I think you've got the most experience here in traditional, so one of you...
a lot of challenges in front of them, and they are all thinking and listening and just very, in there, just present and thinking about their business. And I'm sure most, if not all, business owners, managers, people who are in charge of every aspect of the business and every different aspect are right now. You have to be. So, excuse me. One of the things that we've spent the most time doing is analyzing some of the traditional media that we use for a number of our partners, asking questions, listening, following reports. I even got on Reddit and some other, type of apps to kind of follow some trends and see what people were talking about, and then follow it up to try to find some fact-based, information just to back it up rather than just listening to it. But one of the interesting things is, and we know this, I mean, I learned this in college when I was in journalism classes, that during recessions and depressions and government shutdowns and things like that, most people say that you don't run, you don't hide, you don't go dark, you stick the course, that it ends up helping you more during that time, and you emerge stronger afterward. And so thankfully a lot of our partners subscribe to that, especially those who are open during this time. And so interestingly enough, there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses who have pulled their advertising, who have backed off quite a bit, and that has opened up some inventory. And so one of the ways that was a long road to get to this answer, I guess, but that's probably not surprising to you guys. The traditional media has helped because they have inventory, and so they're able to make some deals, and they are able to accommodate some requests, and they are able to offer up bonus as a, kind of a reward for people who are staying the course and who are still there, and also just to do everything possible to help them. And I imagine that in some cases they've actually done that for people who did go away, who have been longtime loyal, customers of theirs. So, excuse me, that's certainly one of the ways. Another way that I think that it has helped us is that, we know that people are spending more time watching TV. We also imagine that they are, but it's kind of been backed up. And then with radio, a lot of people are talking, who's listening to radio anymore? And actually everything that we found from actual media companies and from third-party sources is that not only are people still listening to radio, in some cases they're listening to it more than they were before, in spite of not having a long commute to work and a long commute home. And so, when you're in this world and you're really dialed in and have great partnerships with the media, you can really find out a lot of these things and make some educated decisions on what to do. And so they've been really great at helping us with that as well. And there's more. Somebody else jump in.
Yeah, no, I think the thing that I find most interesting, being the kind of from the digital background, is that it is leading the traditional advertising is leading people to online actions where they may have previously gone into a brick and mortar retail store. So it's changing the buying habits a little bit, and I think the challenge isn't as much how people are watching and listening, because as Todd alluded to, all the numbers are up. It's more a matter of how we're tracking those sales, conversions, leads, however each business is a little bit different, but how they're tracking those to not give all of the attribution to, not to give all the traditional media partners the nod here, but that last click attribution. It's really easy to say my PPC are searching as opposed to walking into a store. So it's kind of been a challenge to translate some of these numbers and still give traditional the credit that's due there.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think that's it's something that you noticed. I mean, just on like I could have got delivery from or Uber Eats from like restaurants, and now you can, because they are doing that at adapting to, going online.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things is getting people to see your traditional ad on TV and getting them to actually go onto your website or social media or go through the purchasing process after they have seen the traditional advertisements to then go and actually finish out the transaction online.
Cool. One of our friends just sent me a text and said, "How have you adjusted to apps to help you work remotely?" And I'm not the best person to speak from the beginning, but I just want to introduce it, and I'll let you guys run with it. Is that we work on a regular basis, regardless of pandemics and all of that, with some apps and software called Asana and Slack and probably something else that I didn't really use that much, but everybody else in the office used it to track projects and assign tasks and alert when tasks were complete. And when we met, and I think it was Monday, March 16th, and first thing in the morning, and we made our plan for how we're going to work remotely, and we were all home probably by about noon or 12:30. And that has been, other than video calls and texts and emails and things like that, that's been our way of communicating and tracking projects. And I've started to use it quite a bit. I even stop myself sometimes, and found that although we'd all, I think I'm speaking for everybody, maybe I'm wrong, we'd all like to be here and working together because of the dynamic that there is, that this works in this situation. And when we are all together, it's not to avoid walking down the hall to each other's office. It's just a efficient and effective way to do it. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I would follow up with you, Todd, on that one, just based off of not to throw anybody under the bus here, but you weren't the most indoctrinated with the process.
Yeah, late adopter.
Do you feel like it's helped at all? Do you think it's slowed down the process? Obviously, it's easier just to walk in somebody's office, but kind of what's been your feeling on, is it better, worse, somewhere in between?
Yeah, it's obviously just perfect for right now, to the point where I've stopped sending texts and emails about a lot of things and just started using both of those tools in that way. It'll be interesting, very interesting to see what I do when we're back in here, just because I'm also somebody who likes to, walk around and talk a little bit and, see the person who I'm talking to. But now that I know how it works, I think there's certain things that'll just be boom, instead of walking down and talking about a graphic design project, boom, it's sent. And then instead of asking a question about something that's a really quick answer, by walking down and taking up that time for being productive, I think that I'll do it that way. But, as the elder statesman of the group, it is it is different. I mean, it's just one of those things that, it wasn't something that I was using early in my career. You guys know how I am with a lot of things. They're still behind the times, and it's not because I don't like change. I actually love change, and I'm good with a lot of the technology. When I say good, I mean I'm happy that we have it. I'm not good with it all, but yeah, I think it's going to be a tool that I'm going to use regularly when we're back in the office, and hopefully more and more. All right, we ready for another question? Anyone else? Bradley, you got anything on that?
I was just going to say, I don't know how we would be getting what we've done. Like, I don't know how we would get done what we have gotten done without something like Asana or Slack. I mean, it just helps out so much in the communication aspect of working through online.
Well, we could trace back historically how it might have gone. So I'm not going to go that far back, but I started working in the early 90s, in 1990. So back then, we would have all had to have fax machines, maybe pagers, and we would have faxed things to each other or paged, like, hey, can you call me? And then we would have called. Someone might have had a cell phone. It would have been like almost that big. And that's how we would have communicated. And then if we wanted to send anyone anything to show them, hey, here are the copy points I wrote. What do you think of these? We would have faxed it to each other. So, or you could have taken a picture of it with a literal camera, taken it to the photo mat, had them develop it, and then mail it to the person. So, yeah, I don't know. Photomat probably would have been. Do you guys even know what Photomat is? Forget it. Essential. I don't think it would have
been a Polaroid guy.
It's more exactly. I don't think it would have essential. So, and then so on and so forth for the other decades before that. So eventually we would have got to email. Okay, so next question. All right. This is from Tom Bork, who's another great partner of ours in Columbus. Worked with for a number of years. Great guy, big help for us and all of our partners. And his question is kind of a statement question. We're getting close to businesses being able to reopen. What are your thoughts on the best tactics to get the word out about companies' grand reopenings? How would you respond to people that think people are going to flood to their business because consumers have been in lockdown for the past few weeks? So anyone want to go first on the first part of the question, which is thoughts on best tactics to get the word out about companies' grand reopenings? And I don't think we literally mean an event, but just opening it back up.
Yeah, I Stephanie, who Todd said isn't here today, has coined me as being a short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist. I think if you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, I would say, everything would be great and back to normal and fine, and it's going to be gangbusters, and people should just stay the course and figure it out. I think now that I have a better understanding of what's going on and what it's going to take, I think that the comeback process is going to be a little bit longer. And the best tactics are going to be figuring out how businesses who stopped advertising need to figure out how they can come back, because they lost all that momentum and their competition probably has picked up what they were using. If it is a situation where they've been advertising and they're continuing to advertise and they're trying to pick up that momentum, I think the challenge is going to be how to make people feel comfortable coming back in the store again. People have gotten very comfortable buying online, or they've been forced to get more comfortable buying online. So how do we get them to continue to buy online, but also feel safe to come in the store? The strategy for that, I think that's just reiterating across whatever messaging platform people are still on that here's what we're doing, avoiding the phrase unprecedented times because it's overused and out of style. But I think it is a matter of making people feel comfortable to be able to have that quote unquote grand reopening.
Yeah, I think there's obvious, places to be sending this message out, obviously to your loyal fans. So it's clearly you have to get this message out on social media to the people that are following you. Perhaps there's some way to get some traction on that. But I think, there's ways maybe a dumb example would be like, oh, a giveaway, retweet that we're reopening and we're going to give away this, whatever, just to get the word out to more people. But if you think about who's trying to go to your business, there are your loyal customers, the people that have been asking you. I mean, if you really want to be prepared, setting up some hey, sign up to our email newsletter for updates when we'll be back, or something like that. Just the easiest ways to get your loyal fans back is, just talking to them.
And piggybacking off of what Anthony said about how it's going to be a slow process to reopen, I completely agree with that. I think that I personally don't think that consumers are going to flood a business when it first reopens. I mean, I would just ask yourself how you would feel if they randomly worry about a flooding to the stores when they reopen.
Yeah, so I agree. Two things. I think we're going to see some creativity. We're going to see some really good creativity, and then we're going to see some really bad creativity. I can't even imagine what it's going to be. But there's just going to be. You can see what people are doing now, so imagine what it's going to be like when they can really try to get people to come in. So
that's so true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, there's going to be different businesses than the partners that we work with, I think, but there's going to be some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, because I originally thought, okay, I don't really think it's all of a sudden going to be like, oh my God, I've been locked in my house. I have to go and spend money. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of people who are being super conservative with money right now, and they're going to be then also. I mean, there's people who have been laid off. There's people who have lost their job that are not going to get it back. There are people who have been furloughed who aren't just going to have money to do this. There's people who didn't have money to do a lot of things before and who had been saving, and now that savings had to go to other things. So not to get all morbid or anything. Hopefully there's going to be a number of opportunities that are going to open up for people to be employed quickly, and those who have been laid off or furloughed brought back quickly. But there are those people, and we've seen it in the past 2 weeks in a really interesting way with some of our partners, and I'm not going to give specifics, but stimulus checks went out, whether it was 1,200 or 2,400, or you had kids and you got another 1,500 for 3 kids. All of a sudden, people had like $4,000, and while I'm sitting here talking about people needing that money for food and bills and all that stuff, we saw some really significant increases in retail store traffic for essential businesses. We saw sales and things like that. Really show some growth. Now, I don't know if it's just going to be a blip and then it's going to kind of mellow out again, or if it's going to, be, kind of the norm. And then when there is that opening, it's going to kind of be like the floodgates opened, or, maybe it might take a little bit of time, be a little bit of a process, but, nobody knows the exact answer. And I think, Tom asking that question, he's probably getting it a lot too. So, I think it's going to be like we do on a regular basis, a lot of paying attention and anecdotal information and bobbing and weaving to try to, adjust with that for campaigns that we have running.
Yeah, I also, to reiterate a conversation we've had with a handful of partners, it's planning for the potential. So I think it's really important for businesses right now to have some type of, here's my action plan, my game plan, my next steps when XYZ happens. So I think that's an opportunity for businesses to reflect on, hey, here's what's worked in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Here's what could work, and here's how we can potentially come out of this stronger.
Nice. All right, here's another question that came in from a friend. What are your thoughts on changing the messaging right now during quarantine? And the second part is, what are the pros and cons you see of changing messaging to acknowledge a pandemic? If I can I'm just going to throw my one thing out here, and no offense to anybody out there, but I've been really proud, and I've said this to our team, really proud that when we watch TV, listen to radio, that we don't hear any advertising that's come from us that uses pandemic or unprecedented times or uncertain. And while I think that we are all in this together and there is a lot that we all have to do, I don't think that it needs to be used in every commercial. And it's getting more and more difficult to watch TV commercials because so many people are using, in some cases, all of those in the same commercial. So,
Yep.
But anyway, after that rambling, do you want me to restate the question? Our thoughts on changing the messaging right now during quarantine, and then pros and cons of acknowledging a pandemic in the messaging.
I mean, I actually like my point of view on it is if you see like Kylie Jenner like on, it's so hard to take it, like seriously. I mean, CBS Sports has this commercial that's like a tearjerker of like, "Hello, friends." Like we'll be back together soon, and it shows like empty stadiums. Seriously, from a larger company, corporation, billionaire, like just stuff from that. I think as a consumer, just from me, it doesn't sound sincere at all. So it's actually a breath of fresh air when someone is just staying the course and you actually see a real commercial. You're like, huh, okay. Like, these people are fine. Like, everyone else is panicking, being like,
and we've had conversations. I mean, we've had conversations about it because it's a legitimate question. I just sometimes think people come up with the wrong answer to, get all in on that whole thing. But in a lot of ways, it's just more educating people. Like, people want to know, or they don't. But for those who want to know, they want to know if somebody's open. They want to know without too much detail and too much drama. Are they following any type of CDC, World Health Organization type guidelines? Are they adjusting the way they're doing things? And so, you can't talk about that for 15 or 30 seconds of a commercial and not talk about other things. But in some cases, just letting people know, yes, yes, our service department is open. If you need service, come on in. We can come pick it up for you and bring it home for you, and we'll clean it out. Like that,
right.
It doesn't have to be cutesy and creative, and it doesn't have to be dramatic and alarming. And it also doesn't have to be so emotional. If you read articles, sometimes they're like, at this time, businesses should be advertising with a lot of empathy for people, and it's kind of like that kind of thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, everybody has empathy. We all really know what's going on, and I don't want to give everybody too much credit because we don't do that always. But I want to give everybody enough credit that the majority of people kind of get what's going on. So it's really almost unnecessary words.
Agreed.
If you're still advertising, you're open, or you have some message, and it always doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and especially
sappy.
With where you not like groups can't get together, you can't reshoot a commercial right now, but you can just add a simple overlay onto current creative that just says still open, no contact, delivery, whatever way you want to say it or word it, just to get that point across without being like, folks, like.
Yeah, I think everybody here knows how little time 30 seconds is. Nice. How little time 30 seconds is, and how even about half of that time is 15 seconds. But just how little time 30 seconds is, and how much information you need to convey in that time. Like, no shit, we're in unprecedented times. Like, gee, thanks. You've now wasted 10 seconds. I'm glad that you have 20 to tell me what you're doing and how you're different and why we should choose you.
Yeah, and I don't think that's insensitive either. I don't think that's insensitive. Like, obviously there's people who are sick and who are dying, and there's a lot of. So we're not saying it in an insensitive way. I think we're just saying it more in, when you talk about advertising and marketing, sometimes you talk about some things who are uncomfortable if you're choosing a target who you're trying to reach. Sometimes when you're talking about, depends, you're talking about the elder. So anyway, go on.
No, exactly. And I think that when it comes to digital and social strategy, it comes back to Todd, your famous phrase, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. There's so many ways to give resources and be supportive and show that you're open and update people without coming off as panicking or alarmist or
trying to profit from a pandemic.
Exactly, that unsincere. And now we're going to be printing face masks for $10 if you guys would like to buy one. That's unsincere. It's not going to help anybody, and I think it's kind of short as far as messaging goes.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I was just going to say, I agree with you, Todd, about how a lot of these commercials are just very dramatic. And I think less drama, more straight to the point. Yes, we're open. We're following CDC guidelines. We got gloves and masks. You can come get what you need.
Yeah. Agreed. So, what's our next question?
Everybody plus pour right there. I think we should just take 2 seconds to appreciate Mike's pour.
45-degree angle.
Communal cheers. Well done. That's a beautiful head you got on that.
With these cups, it's important. It's like pouring a Guinness. You want to make sure that you hit the flag on your pour.
Oh,
So I think that's a. I feel like we've seen like TikTok has gone crazy during this thing. I know Todd's all over TikTok, spends 4 to 6 hours a day on it. But like TikTok meme culture has just taken off with this thing. People being locked up in their house has led to a ton of creative. Oh my goodness.
TikTok.
I don't even
Wow.
have TikTok on my phone. That's
It's
impressive.
to
I don't either.
that's to manage the kids.
You
Right?
gotta follow my sister. You gotta follow my sister. She's gonna be not an influencer. She's gonna be an enhancer, because she enhances
Ooh.
brands.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Is it going to
We'll
be
sign an affiliate deal with her.
100% appropriate?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's just whatever these are. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go around the circle here. What has been the best creative content that you guys feel like has come out of this thing? Meme, TikTok, Instagram. I mean, there's tons out there, but some I think are better than others.
I think the
That's a
Tiger
good
King
question.
memes have been on point. All the Carol Baskin and Joe Exotic. It's all over.
Yeah, I can't hear that.
I saw a Baskin and Robbins sign. You guys see this?
Yep.
We're not related to Carol Baskin. I don't even know who it is, but I just know it's a person from that Tiger King thing.
Everywhere.
All right, well, give an example, Anthony, of like that. Like, what do you think is the best one?
I think some of these Instagram and like TikToks of people playing Wii golf and Wii baseball, like those are
Baseball
awesome.
bat, and they tape the remote
Yeah.
to it.
I had it was referred to me from a different channel, Indian TikTok. There's like a whole subset, like Bollywood TikTok is awesome right now. If you guys have a half hour to an hour of your life that you never want to get back, that's a great place to spend your time.
Oh my gosh.
I just think
that's
that
so
people
funny that you said
being locked down in like one spot, the true creative people in the world are coming up with some really cool creative content. Like, it's funny. I honestly enjoy at the end of the workday just unloading on this nonsensical just crap that's out there right now.
Mike?
I've seen a huge improvement on podcasts. Like, I follow a ton of comedians, and it seems like now's the time where every comedian's just gonna, like, they're all joining together because, all right, I can't be there. You know, it used to be, hey, when you're in LA, come on my podcast. Well, now no one can go anywhere, so hey, let's Zoom. I'll get on your podcast. And the podcasts are hysterical. Even live, like, stand-up podcasts, like Kill Tony is one of my favorite right now. And they're still doing it live. Like, comedians, it's so funny what they're doing with the like, laugh pause. Like, I mean, just what they're able to do with that. Everybody thought that would be so awkward at first. And now it's turned into the punchline itself. Super funny. And then virtual, like, stand-up nights. I mean, it's very funny to see funny people, like, through this. They're always trying to get that punchline in, and it's the creative ways that they're doing it. It's great.
Yes, you would call it a meme, where it's like, here's this guy at the first day of the quarantine, and here he is now. And it's like,
Classic.
yeah, like, it's some things that I've seen are just so funny. Like, man, if I sat there all day, as creative as I think that I can be at times, I don't know if I would come up with funny stuff that I've seen. It's just that good. Like, people are good, and they come up with some really funny stuff. But some of the things that I've really actually enjoyed, like the way you're enjoying, podcasts, and I have watched a number of comedians and things like that. When I heard they're going to be a guest, and that's been cool. But I've been reading articles about sports, probably more than anything else, where it's talking about something from 20 or 30 years ago, but like it's newly written right now because there was nothing sports going on. And it's just unbelievable to read some of the stuff, not even The Last Dance related, like just other stuff about things that were happening, and now it's like a whole investigative thing. Or so yeah, I don't know what else like that I've seen, but I have watched a lot of old games, as I know some of you guys have too. Anthony's becoming
Oh, yeah.
a Browns historian now,
And
but
the
yeah.
early to mid to late '80s Browns. I'm if only I'd been there.
We're about to lose
Yeah,
our latest our watcher, but the ESPN's been replaying the old cricket like games, like legendary Sachin Tendulkar games, and just India, Australia, classic test matches.
I was
On
gonna say.
ESPN or two or which one? Like ESPN?
ESPN Plus has
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and then
I was gonna say.
that's part of the Indian meme culture is all of
Got it.
that.
That's
Oh,
great.
It's great.
Bradley.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've been finding myself consuming a lot more old sports highlights just because there's nothing on TV. So I see like something on like the Facebook feed of an old Indians game from like 6 years ago, of just all the highlights. Like I'll just watch it. Same thing with a Browns game or like an Arsenal soccer game. I'll just watch anything and everything that I can see sports related, just
Yeah.
because we're all craving that kind of content.
Yeah, like tonight is the first live sports really for what,
Can't
6
wait.
weeks, and everybody excited. And in the meantime, it's going to be like watching this, like
Yeah,
watching
exactly,
probably
exactly.
with more difficulties than we have.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Speaking of that, have you
What else?
noticed if you're watching live local news that's six? They're sitting 6 feet apart. That looks like 10 feet.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
hysterical. Smart. Yeah, I know you guys watch the local news. Yeah, the local news. But,
It was a
it's
meme. It
interesting.
was a meme.
Have you seen, and a lot of people are working from home. I mean, whether they're
Yeah.
compromised medically in some way, and so, but it's been interesting to watch how that how they're pulling that off and pulling it off in a pretty good way. I haven't seen really any technical difficulties. And you mentioned I was thinking about this before, Mike, when you were talking about the comedians and no feedback on the jokes. Has anybody watched any of the late night TV like Fallon
Oh
or
yeah.
Bernard?
Some of it, yeah.
It was weird at first.
It's
I
tough,
feel like
man.
I've gotten a little used to it, but it's still weird.
But doing a monologue is just like, oh my god, he must feel terrible about himself every night because nobody's laughing at him. But even
It's
if
a lot like this.
funny, yeah, exactly.
It's so funny. There's this one guy. His name's William Montgomery. Look him up if you ever get the chance. Who is nailing the like silence? It's not even the joke that's funny. It's the way he handles that like awkward like. Anyways, like it is. It makes me cry.
Yeah, well, I mean, they obviously know that it's different than if they were really in a club and they really told a joke and really nobody laughed.
Right.
But still, I mean, that's the whole, for probably 50%, if not more, is the reason why they do that, is to get that approval and
Right. So great.
nuts. All right. I don't know. Do we have any more questions here?
Anything come through the chat?
I think we asked them all.
The chat's been a little dead, but we have gotten looks like a question, another one from. No, I take that back.
Whew.
We were doing well there for a while, keeping up with everything. But
well, it was a good excuse to have a couple of cocktails, and hopefully anybody who live, and for anybody who picks this up somewhere else and watches it, get a little something out of it. And if they do, is there a way for them to let us know that we should do this again, or tell us to never do this again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first of all, Mike, you're gonna hate me for saying this, but don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hell yeah! I was
Betsy,
gonna say
Bridget, that's rule number one to increase your followers and engagement. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe too. In the comments down below, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, we're gonna share it across everything. Go go ahead and let us know in the comments how we can make this thing a little bit better, a little more beneficial to you guys. We don't just do this for us to have a drink. We do that anyways. So let us know how we can make that as beneficial for you guys as possible. And for anybody, keep sending us. If you text us, email us, whatever it might be, we'll let you guys here. And maybe for the next one, we can bring somebody in. We'll see. We can play this a couple different ways, but I think it was a good first episode.
Yeah, and I do think that one of the key things is the questions. So we did field some questions. We threw a couple in there ourselves, and we talked about the Browns and some other memes and gifs and all that. But the better the questions, the better the answers. We have a lot of experience, all different, but it adds up to a lot. And we are currently doing a ton of good things out there. We have our on the pulse of the market and in advertising and marketing in general. And so, if getting together and every once in a while could give you some answers or ideas, then that'll be something.
I drink right now. I've got a lot of beer. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but
go straight for the water.
All right, I got the water.
Get set, go.
Go.
For the record, coming into today, I sworn sobriety because I felt like I was drinking too much during quarantine. So thanks for that.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for dropping in. Let us know if there's anything we can do. Mike, I love the new sign-off. That's
yeah, that's
same time next week.
Make sure your drink's low by the end.
Yeah, don't refill.
Yeah.
All right, go Browns. Don't blow it tonight.
Go Browns.
Peace.